You ready for it? I'm going to try not to confuse you.
Good luck.
I have the cost report, and this is the projected cost report for 2009. So it's what the case management unit will be able to bill and collect starting in July, and then in September of 2009 we'll do a actual to cost settle that's projected. So
does this include their new?
No, there's the new regs. No, okay. We haven't been trained on that. We haven't received anything about that. We're supposed to, as we understand it, continue as is until January, and then we'll cost settle from July to January, and we'll supposed to be starting that.
When did you hear that?
April-ish, May. Yeah, but no, nothing's been made. No changes have been. Nothing's happened on the federal level. In fact, except for there's been a moratorium put on to postpone the federal regulations for 1 year. But we've heard nothing.
Did you get the email about something about?
Yeah, that it was. Yeah, that there was something with how it was published that was illegal. So, but I'm not sure how much.
The last time we had talked, they hadn't done the delay.
This Iowa, our affiliate, ISAC, and the DHS, they've heard nothing. We still don't know how to set a rate. We still don't know what could be included as costs in our rate setting, and we still don't know how to determine a 15-minute increment. So we're still operating as we've always operated. We're operating a little bit differently because we're tracking 15-minute increments at this point in time. Our agency is to prepare and so forth, but we're still moving forward how we're supposed to. So, but our rate is considerably higher this year than last year, and I have several examples to show why that is. So I'm bringing them to you. First of all, this is just kind of a little sheet that I use to help myself kind of get our costs in order.
Sure. Thank you.
And that is that this is what a single family policy costs, the $337.88. A family policy costs the county $750 a month, and then the county pays $4.80 a month for some life insurance. The other piece right there where I have that indirect and so forth, $28,000, I'll kind of come back to that later. But this is just a little kind of chart where I identified how I would come up with the costs that I put into the cost report that were employee related. This is the actual cost of people's health insurance, and that's one of the reasons why our costs are a little bit higher this year than last year, is that the health insurance, where Connie and I have always been at the $9,000 range for health insurance. This year Lisa moved to the $9,000 range. Carrie moved a little further. She's at 75% of the $9,000. And then the next rate just shows what percentage of that total cost goes into the case management cost report. And I'm projecting next year for 5% of my cost to go in there, for 70% of Barb's cost to go in there, and then 100% of everyone else's cost to go in there. So that I just identified how we came up with our health insurance cost for the cost report. And I did the same thing with our wages. I took our total wages that we would have next year. I put the same percentage in, and those are the wages I used in the cost report. Same thing with FICA. I took, 7.65% of our wages, and same thing with IBRA, 6.35% of our wages. And then the disability insurance, that the same thing, the yearly cost at $4.80 times 12 is $57.60, and I just put in the percentages and carried the formula over. So that's how I came up with our costs. Okay. And the next page I'm going to show you is last year's, and okay, this is last year's Schedule D. And the only reason I'm showing it to you is so you can see how it's going to be different this year. Okay, and then this is this year's Schedule D. And how you know is it says up at the top, one says 6/30/08, and that's the year that this report covers. So this last year's is the 6/30/08, and actually we're still currently in that year. And then in July we'll go to this, which I just wrote 2008-2009 projected. And you can just line them up side by side and see that that our wage costs have increased. And some of that was out of necessity because there were several administrative type things that weren't being completed, and they hadn't been done for quite some time. And with the federal audit that we were surviving without doing those minimal things, but with the federal audit and the payback that the state had to do, now we have to prove to the state that we're doing those things. And so that is what prompted Lisa to move into the quality assurance position, so that we would be able to report to the state what we were doing and that we actually were doing it. So as a result of that, and she's going to have a lot more responsibility in the case management program, as we had talked about, and I'm going to have minimal responsibility in the case management program. And last year, I had 25% of my time projected for the case management program. The current year that we're in, I have 25% of my time. Next year, I'm projecting to spend 5% of my time in the program, and mainly just for administrative type functions, to assist her with the cost report and things like that. So we gave her 90% of her time for administrative stuff and 10% of her time for caseload. That's just a projection. I mean, she can flip it completely around. We won't be meeting standards if she does, but it's just a projection and just how I laid it out in there. So. So basically we went from 0.25 of a full-time person to almost a full-time person at 0.95 in that position. And then the other positions, pretty much with just the exception of allowing Lisa some caseload time at 10% of her time, stayed the same. But we raised our starting pay, so Andrea started at $28,000, and then she's entitled to the 4% increase that I was entitled to. So, and then we also raised everyone else's pay to get them closer to the state average of pay. So that is the difference in the difference you'll see between the $101,000 and the $93,000. And Barb, her salary did go up some. We raised her to get more in line with other like positions in the courthouse, but and then we also, for this upcoming year, we increased her time, and that's based on a projection, but it's also accurate because it's based on the time study that she's currently done. And she's had a lot of time struggling with billing and getting paid this year. And I think that's only going to continue. So, does anyone have any questions about the differences between those two documents?